measure your own 2022? I'd like to suggest that you start somewhere slightly out of the ordinary, going back a few thousand years to what we know of Aristotle. Aristotle suggested that the well-lived life had to do, of course, with being a person of both high virtue and high morality, but also had to do with meaningful work, with leisure time, and with reflection. And even as we start to head into the holidays and school may wind down if you have school kids anywhere in your life, work may come to a brief pause, it's hard in the hubbub of everything that's going on to take that time to truly sit down and reflect. But it's in that time of reflection that we can really do the deep thought around our past year and the year to come, which is where the learning and growth really comes in. The late Clayton Christensen wrote a book called How Will You Measure Your Life? It's well worth a read. There's a link in the notes here. And it doesn't look, interestingly, at professional accomplishments, although he had many of those, but looks instead at three primary areas. The first one, relationships. Think back and look at all of your significant relationships, understanding that relationships take work even when you don't think that they do. Relationships are something that require continual investment. So that's number one. Number two, build your intuition and your empathy around those relationships by thinking about your family as a job. Think about that as something where you want to perform, you want to give your best, you want to contribute your absolute utmost. And Christensen suggests beginning this process with asking the question, what does this person need me to do? Do that for each of your significant relationships, whether it's a family at home or whether it's close friends or a family far away. What does this person need me to do and be? And then lesson number three, avoid marginal thinking, which means don't let yourself get to the place where you compromise what you know to be right by saying, it's just going to be this once, or this really is, it's pretty close to being right. Don't allow yourself to compromise your integrity, because living with integrity is living the good life. That would go back to Aristotle and those morals and values. So let's enter into this time of reflection, calling on Aristotle, calling on Clayton Christensen and his work. And I'm going to suggest to you now a technique that I've developed over the last year. Now, when we started 2022, I suggested to each of you on my email list, and if you're not there already, you can get there. There's a link in the bio. You don't want to miss the content that we put out, because it really is about living a life of meaning and value and contribution and developing really courageous leaders so that we can develop a better world together. But at the beginning of 2022, our challenge was to pick a word. And my word for 2022 was whole. Whole as in W-H-O-L-E. A whole life, a whole perspective. I think that's one of the things that this pandemic has really done for a lot of us over the past few years, is remind us just how important life is in general, but also really a well-lived life that is full of purpose and full of meaning. And so that's what whole really exemplified. I wanted to invest in my family and in health and in my work, of course, and in creation and in serving. I'll talk about that in just a moment, and I'm going to link to the blog post that gets into more detail. But then I developed a quadrant system that I'm going to offer to you as a way to look back on your 2022. This is the 4 quadrants technique, proprietary to the Grit Institute. As far as I know, I haven't seen it anywhere else. And I'm going to ask you to draw a line on a piece of paper and then draw a perpendicular line across it so that you have 4 quadrants. It'll look a little bit like this. And then in each one of those quadrants, write down the words body in one of them, mind in one of them, spirit in one of them, and heart in one of them. Now, you may have some goals or aspirations or activities that cross into 2 or more of those categories, and that's completely fine. But look back over your 2022 with these 4 quadrants. This is how I look at each day, and this is how I look at my year as well. How did you take care of your body? How did you use your body? How did you get outside and be active? And maybe that crosses over into relationships and the heart piece as well. Consider that. Were you able to take care of your body? Your body is the thing that you're able to work in the world with, right? C.S. Lewis said that we are souls that have bodies, but your body is how you interact in the world. So how did you take care of your body? What would you do differently next time? Then go back and look over your goals and aspirations for the year. Because as you get into the mind section, I think of your professional working life really as mind. But again, that may be mind and spirit and heart, or it may be mind, spirit, heart, and body. But find a quadrant that works well for you for the work that you do, your professional life in the world. And go back and look to see if you had goals or aspirations for the year. Maybe you picked a word for the year. And then think back over your 2022. Now for work especially, and this may be true for other quadrants, you're going to want to look back through your calendar. Look back through your calendar, look at major meetings or major trips or major contracts or engagements, and look back and assess how it is that you would look at your 2022. How is it that you would analyze the work that you did? Where are the places that you had wins that were either expected, that you had planned on, or that were unexpected? Where are places that you might do things a little bit better? Look at the places as well in every quadrant where you have gratitude. What are you grateful for in your body, in your mind, in your spirit, in your heart? What are you grateful for? What have you achieved? And what might you do a little bit differently next year? So start with that 4 quadrants technique, and then we'll get into how it is that we can use the 4 quadrants technique to not only assess this year prior, but also to look at the year ahead with intention and with thought and with that balanced perspective that really is about a life worth living. It's deep within our own hearts that we find that elusive but critical ingredient to success, which is something that I have always called grit.